everyone. I am Jaymini Sahai, a Kathak dance artist based in the UK. On behalf of Annapurna Indian Dance Company, I welcome you all today as we celebrate International Women's Day. Today, we will gain some fascinating insights from Kuchipudi dance artist, teacher, mentor, performer, and educator, Abhinandana Kodanda. Abhinandana is a Lancashire-based dance practitioner trained in the South Indian classical style called Kuchipudi. She has been part of various regional performance projects and commissions, including Dancing with God, Nrityanjali Dance Festival, Bicycle on Barefoot Tour de France, and the London International Arts Festival. As well as being a performance artist, she is also an innovative creative practitioner and articulate arts manager. Having worked in the creative sector for over 20 years, Abhinandana currently works as the artistic director of Abhinandana Dance Academy, is the performance director for Preston City Mela, and centre manager for Gujarat Hindu Society. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Abhinandana today. Hello, Abhinandana. It is so good to speak with you today. There's so much to talk about, but let's start with your dance career. How did your dance journey begin, and where did it begin?
Hi, Jamini. Thank you very much. It's lovely to be in conversation with you. We met a few months back and we performed together. So it's such a pleasure to have this conversation about our common interest, dance. My journey as a dancer started back in India, and it started way before I began my formal learning or training in dance. So I belong to this family of artists, my father being a poet and my mother herself being a dancer. Growing up, I had a huge exposure to performing arts, and I was fortunate to watch some exquisite performances by really eminent artists, and that was a source of inspiration for me as a child. So I started learning Kuchipudi at an age of 7. Learning music and dance was a natural and an organic process for me. It was the same as going to a school. So it was mainstream and it never felt like an extracurricular activity. And that's the kind of value system I carried with me throughout my journey as a performer and as a teacher.
You have helped Kuchipudi as an Indian classical dance form flourish, especially in the north of the country. That can't have been an easy task by any means. I'd really like to understand any challenges that you faced and any barriers that you faced. So if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Kuchipudi is one of the 7 classical dance forms which originated in India, and it's an exquisite dance form. When I moved into this country 15 years back, it was almost non-existent. The biggest challenge was, or if I were to list the barriers that existed, it was low recognition to the art form, unwillingness to engage, lack of audience support for the performances because they were quite unfamiliar with this dance form. And we had no access to high quality performances in the Northwest because the visiting performers, the visiting Kuchipudi groups, maybe once in a year would come and perform at, those gigs would happen at big cities like London, Liverpool, Manchester. So we had very little access to those performances. So this becomes a vicious circle and one barrier leads to another. So addressing these barriers was extremely challenging. However, by dedicating ourselves to high quality performances and high quality teaching, it has to some extent demystified the ignorance people had towards Kuchipudi. And of course, a lot of networking with community organizations and other artists, liaising with performing arts colleges and universities like Edge Hill University, Kendall College, Blackpool Sixth Form, Newman College in Preston. So we did a lot of work with these universities. On the whole, taking strategic steps to give shape and identity to Kuchipudi in the Northwest helped. This didn't happen overnight. We took baby steps, but very proud of the journey so far. And there is still a long way to go.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that you are the only guru who has 5 Kuchipudi Ranga Praveshams to your credit. I mean, that's just amazing. Why do you think this dance training is so important to young people? I'm really keen to hear your views on preserving the legacy of Indian classical dance in the UK.
Ranga Pravesam is a full-fledged performance of about 3 continuous hours by a dancer who has undergone intrinsic training in many aspects of Kuchipudi. So there is at least 8 to 10 years of preparation that goes into preparing a student to be able to perform at a Ranga Pravesham level. However, Ranga Pravesham is not just about that day of the performance. It is the process of empowering a young dancer with the deep-rooted knowledge of dance, equipping them with the skill base, the heritage base, building the stamina, resilience, mental strength, and confidence. And that's why it becomes very important training. It becomes an important training because it offers many transferable skills. And in fact, in my opinion, preparation or the journey towards Ranga Pravesam is as grilling and as enriching as probably Duke of Edinburgh Gold Expedition.
Absolutely. As women, we play several roles. For example, I'm a dancer, a mother, a wife, an IT professional, and I find it very difficult and challenging to juggle so many roles. It isn't easy. I'm sure you are also in a very similar position to myself, as many other women are. How are you able to juggle all the different roles that you have to play?
It's definitely challenging to juggle many roles, and you sometimes wonder and question yourself, why are you doing all this? Because we have the zest for life and unlimited passion for dance. So I work as artistic director for my dance academy. I work as a center manager for Gujarat Hindu Society, and I also work as performance director for Preston City Mela. And I'm highly enthusiastic about all these roles, which revolve around art and culture. And this is all alongside being a wife and a mother. So most of the times it is after the children go to bed that you're replying to those hundreds of emails, you're choreographing in your mind, you're probably writing a bid, or you're practicing a jati. So it's not an easy task, but because of our passion, we get on with things, I think. And I would also like to give credit to my management education and the exposure to corporate life that I had, which has given me an added dimension as a dancer, because it has taught me many skills like planning, interpersonal skills, negotiation skills, presentation, communication, etc. And not to forget the amazing community who support me in Preston, be it the Gujarat Hindu Society, be it the Preston City Mela team, or the families of my students who contribute towards me being able to juggle all these roles at ease.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I am sure you have lots of achievements under your belt, but what do you feel your greatest achievements are? I mean, there must be so many of them. But yeah, it would be really lovely to hear about what you think the highlights are for you, your greatest achievements.
Probably my greatest achievement is how I started from zero here in UK, away from my motherland, and then was able to create these cultural ambassadors, I call them, who are holding on to their heritage through dance. Being invited to the palace, to the Buckingham Palace by the Queen, as a recognition to the community work through dance that I've been able to do in the last so many years. This was back in 2017 that I've been invited to the garden party to meet the Queen. So that is has made quite an impression in my mind. Apart from that, at this point of time, I feel heartening to see other Kuchipudi dancers, my students who are blossoming into full-fledged dancers and then carrying the legacy forward. And that's in itself a great achievement, I feel.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. So I've heard of Simha Nandini. I know a little bit about it, and I find it absolutely fascinating. Could you tell us all a little bit about what that actually is?
Jaymini, Simhanandini is a very unique aspect of Kuchipudi. It is when the dancer dances on a screen and creates a picture. The picture here is generally of a lion, which is the vehicle of Goddess Durga, or a lotus, which is an abode of Goddess Lakshmi, or a peacock. So all these elements are imprinted on a screen while dancing to a rhythm. So it needs a lot of dexterity, it needs a lot of practice, a lot of mathematical calculation, a lot of understanding of space, and precise footwork to be able to create those pictures. And there are just a handful of artists in the world who are able to perform this. So it is an art form which is getting extinct, but we are trying to keep it alive. We performed this recently at the Bradford Festival, again organized by Annapurna Dance, and we're trying to keep it alive. So that's what Simhanandini is.
It's absolutely fascinating. And tell me, is this usually done as a soloist, or is this done as kind of a group of dancers? Traditionally, how is this done?
Yeah, so this is a temple dance ritual. So during big dance festivals or temple festivals, they get these idols out of the temple and take them around. And while doing this, they create these patterns. Solo artists perform this, but it is also done as a group.
How wonderful. I would love to see you do that. That will be the next thing for me to see. Lovely,
Thank you.
lovely.
In fact, just to make it relevant to today's generation, we also did a similar pattern for the Tour de France festival. So we performed this particular piece to create a picture of a bicycle to welcome the cyclists who had come.
It's lovely how you were able to kind of adapt that idea to something relevant, I guess, to that particular event. Hats off. Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Abhinandana, I see you as a strong woman, clear in thought, with an extremely positive outlook in life. What message would you like to share to young women today, and of course, anybody else listening to this conversation?
Message for young women would be to believe in yourselves and do whatever it takes for you to become strong and independent women. And please don't wait for people's validation. Surround yourself with people who constantly inspire you, stimulate you, and lift you up. And especially as dancers, I always say this: let's look after each other. Let's get out of this mode of cutthroat competition, because I think when we support each other, I think the results are incredible.
That's wonderful to hear.
As a dancer, my vision is to create a strong place for Kuchipudi on the cultural map of UK and empower all my students to become the custodians of culture. And as a woman, my vision is to fulfill my bucket list of dreams, which is as an individual, as a mother, daughter, wife, and in the process, positively inspire all those who are around me and all those who look up to me.
Abhinandana, it has been an absolute pleasure, an absolute delight, to have the time to be able to kind of converse with you, all things dance, all things life. Again, I extend a huge thank you to Annapurna Indian Dance Company, specifically Shantha Raoji, who asked myself and yourself to have a conversation today for this special event marking International Women's Day. I've certainly learnt a lot about you because, as you say, we meet, we dance, we go. We don't really get a chance to converse and really understand each other's lives. And so much of what we've spoken about today, I completely relate to. And I think many other women who are juggling multiple roles are also able to relate to, the things that we've raised and the things that we've discussed today. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful day for me to speak to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jaymini. It's such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Like I said, we always, like you said, we always come, perform, go away. But then having this little chat, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, sharing what we are going through is always a pleasure. And massive thank you to Annapurna Dance, Mrs. Shantha Raoji, for this series and for featuring us next to each other in giving out this message for International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day. Namaste.
Happy International Women's Day. Namaste.